Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Thanks for joining me today.
Of course, my pleasure.
So we should start out with introductions. I'm Jody Summers, and I work with Arbor South Architecture, and I'm really happy to have you here today.
Thanks, Jody. Chad Westphal, I'm the president and CEO of Looking Glass Community Services, and I'm happy to be here today.
So Looking Glass has been in the community for a long time. Can you tell me a little bit about Looking Glass? What's your mission? How do you show up in the community?
55 years, in fact, now, since 1970, and we are predominantly a youth and family services provider. But we also work with individuals that are going through challenges well into their adult life, and because of that, we switched from Looking Glass Community Services to Looking Glass Youth and Family Services to Looking Glass Community Services because of the wider reach that we have with this community. And our mission is to build a better future for children, youth, adults, and families. Couldn't do it without an incredible board of directors, incredible board of stewards, and 376 incredible staff members.
Wow, 376 staff members. And so what's your geographic reach?
We have 4 service areas. One is homeless services, the other is alternative education services, and outpatient services. Those 3 service areas are Lane County specific and predominantly the Eugene-Springfield area, but also rural communities. And then our statewide service area is residential treatment services. So essentially we serve all of Oregon, but our primary focus is here in Lane County.
Wow. Are your residential placements, are they here locally or are they around the state?
They're here locally, but
Yeah.
the young people certainly come from the local community, but also statewide.
Wow. It's a really large organization and 55 years now.
Yes, 13 different locations. Started as a homeless shelter for youth, and when you are living on the streets, rarely is your only challenge housing. It's much more than that, and that's where the behavioral health wraparound supports that we provide, the education supports that we provide came into play. It was really the community, the youth telling us we need more than a roof over our head and clothes and food, and we responded to that.
Do you have a sense of how many people you serve every year?
Anywhere between 4,000 and 5,000, unduplicated. Yeah. And we also run 2 24/7 crisis lines for the community. Several of our programs are 24/7, so the downside of that is we'll have a celebratory event and not everyone can come. We're always working, so I like to honor our overnight staff who are with the youth no matter what.
That makes sense. It's such an important job that everyone has there. They're doing so much good for the community. Definitely want to honor them. When did you first meet Bill Randall?
2007. I believe Bill was on the City Planning Commission at the time. That's how we encountered him, and once you encounter Bill, you'd like to spend more time with him. I'm fortunate that my predecessor, Craig Opperman, managed to get Bill to join our board of directors, and what a blessing that has been. So it's been, what is that now? Almost 20 years?
Yeah.
Wow. So he and I arrived at the same time.
Oh,
that's when I
great.
arrived to Looking Glass, was 2007.
And what was your role when you joined, when you first got there?
At the time, I oversaw all the programs, the chief operations officer.
Gotcha.
And when Craig, and this is a credit to Bill, because he is not just a board member. He is a leader on our board of directors. He's admired by the entire peer group that he sits on the board with. And to his credit, to my predecessor's credit, we had about a 5-year transition plan between Craig when he knew he was going to retire, but it hadn't been publicly announced. And so a lot of leaders, when they exit, tend to want to be missed, and Craig was not like that. And with the board's support, we were able to have a long and educational transition plan so that when I stepped in, there was no impact, that it really felt like a smooth transition. And I've been doing it almost 2 years now, and it really has felt that way, but wouldn't have happened without Bill and the board's support.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds like Bill's had a strong leadership role on the board, and on the board for almost 20 years now, and he's still on the board.
Yes. He's so humble that you'd never know it unless we were doing something like this and conversing about him. You would know a lot of people like him, but you wouldn't know how impactful he's been because he's not going to advertise that. And probably wouldn't even like that I'm advertising it right now. But I'm going to do it anyway because he attracts questions because of his approach. His delivery is very supportive. And when you seek consultation from him, he's going to give it in that kind of a manner where even if he doesn't necessarily agree with the direction you're heading, you're not going to feel down on yourself for considering that direction. He just brings you up, he has a conversation, and then because of your admiration for him, you always end up doing the right thing. He asks the right questions, makes the right comments, and that's why he's been our board secretary for probably over 10 years now. It's been some time, and is now chair of our finance committee. And you don't find yourself in roles like that. One, if you're not very bright. Bill is very bright. Two, if you ask the right questions. It's a governing board, and we want to do really well. And when you have people like that in those leadership positions, you're never going to be steered the wrong way.
Can you give an example of one of those occasions where Bill asked questions and it had an impact on a decision or some sort of input he had that where you could obviously see the results of it?
There's not just one, just so you know. But his insight into permitting processes has saved our agency so much money. His architectural mind has saved our agency so many what would be unsafe situations because of the design of our facilities. Always has the well-being of young people in mind. We can provide a vision, we can introduce challenges, and he can take those words and put it in design and say, will this work? Will this work? And we get there. It does work. But we can't do that. We just have an idea of what would help keep the kids safe, and he actually makes it real. And then when you're renovating facilities or a build, there's a lot of permit challenges. The city, his city knowledge has been fantastic, but sometimes you have to go through county permitting processes too, which can be even more challenging. And without Bill, I'd probably be bald, just ripping my hair out. But he never changes his demeanor. It's just calm. We'll get through it. Yeah, it's frustrating, and it keeps me grounded. I think that would be, of all the things that Bill contributes, I'd probably put that as the most memorable because it's been happening for so many years. And even just months ago, we finished probably 1 year ago, we finished another project that wouldn't have been nearly as fun without Bill's calm demeanor.
What project was that?
That was on the MLK campus, the John Serbu Youth Campus. And that is our psychiatric residential treatment expansion program. We had a very successful program on River Road that Bill has been a part of. And it was so successful, we were asked by the state of Oregon to develop a twin sibling. With some county support, we're able to perform that work over there on MLK. Also with county support, were county challenges through permitting processes, and Bill came through and made sure that we were able to get the services in play.
That's wonderful. Having a calm demeanor definitely helps, and going through the permitting process as many times as Bill has, he knows there's always a path through, and you just have to figure it out. And patience is, a good attribute to bring to the process.
Right.
You work your way through it. Don't worry, we'll find a path.
And it's there's always a budget too.
Yeah.
And Bill is aware of the budget and very protective of the budget, which I appreciate. And so I want to make sure I get that point in there as well.
Well, thanks. It is important because a lot of times people can design a building and they can give you everything you want. Then you get the final numbers and it doesn't pencil. And you've got to go back to the drawing board, so it takes even longer and you have to kind of redo everything. So it costs more in the design process to finally get to something you can afford.
Well, I think it doesn't matter what the build is. It all should be done right and performed safely. But we're working with young kids who have trauma histories that are pretty hard to be aware of. Nobody wants to read those trauma histories, I can assure you. And those trauma histories result in behaviors that can be really violent towards themselves and also towards others. You can't really cut costs when it comes to protecting those lives. And that's where Bill's savvy, his knowledge of the processes, but also like who you can go to get help. He really knows everybody, and because of his likability, he generally gets a really quick and honest response from those individuals, which results in us getting what we need to keep kids safe and save lives.
That's fantastic. And so was that the first project that Arbor South was your architect for?
No.
Oh, so
No.
you've been working with Arbor South.
They have supported our homeless shelter services for youth between the ages of 11 and 18, our drop-in center services for homeless youth in our rural community, also in our urban community. I am certain I'm missing some because my predecessor had a lot of the interactions with Bill specific to these projects before I came into the role. But River Road, he had involvement with River Road as well, the original program before the more recent development of the twin sibling program.
Gotcha. So, and is it correct, have you worked with other staff here at Arbor South on projects?
Brian, yes, who I just got to finally see him off screen. And again, credit to Bill. I know that he was retiring. I've known that for about a year and a half. And he had assigned Brian the MLK job with I think under Bill's tutelage, his guidance. And Brian is great. Like it reminded me of how Craig handed things off to me.
Oh, wow.
It's just a smooth transition, and really appreciated working with him. And I could even feel towards the end, I don't think Bill would have been as involved as he was without the permit challenges. Like, it was incredible how many detours we had to take before getting back on track. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have worked with Bill. I mean, that's how on top of things Brian was too.
Oh, that's great. So I assume because it was a county facility building, you were dealing with county
So it's in the
codes?
city of Eugene.
Right.
Well, naturally, that's where we would go to get our permit process started and approved, and we did. And then found out, oh, this has to go through the county because it's county owned, regardless of where it physically resides. And so that, of course, delayed the project. That was a much more difficult permitting process than it would have been with the city.
Gotcha.
But we got there.
So can you tell me, what's it been like working with Arbor South?
Wonderful. It doesn't matter what field you're in, I'm sure. But when you are in the behavioral health field, you are in a regulatory environment that is incredibly challenging, and those regulations dictate really unique setups when it comes to a new build, a renovation. You have to have somebody that's patient enough to understand what it is you want, because this isn't your typical building of a house. These facilities, whether it's a shelter, which is a lower level of care, or a psychiatric residential treatment facility, or a drop-in center, also a lower level of care, the safety has to be number one. And it's not your standard code that you have to check all these boxes. There's unique things. Like we have facilities that have to be prison rated, essentially, ligature safe. These are young people that, if not closely monitored, they've either thought about, attempted, or at least had a plan in place to end their own lives.
Oh my goodness.
And that's why, I mean, obviously, line of sight, being hands-on with the incredible work that our staff does is important, but that job gets easier if you design your facility in the right way. And that's why working with Arbor South has been so great. Responsive, understanding that we're different, we're a little unique with our asks, and being okay with that. Because I'm sure Arbor South could say, yeah, you're on your own. I mean, there's plenty of architects out there, and that's not what we've gotten. And that, again, comes back to Bill's leadership. He knows who we're working with. He knows they've been abandoned their entire lives and neglected and traumatized, and he's not going to be part of that. He's not going to be part of that continuum. He's going to put a roadblock right there. I'm not going to abandon you. And he does it through his own way, through his own architect way. We don't abandon them either, but we need partners like Arbor South to make sure that we get these kids on the right track.
Well, the work that Looking Glass does is so important in our community. It's so hard to see young people on the street, and I know I can trust that you know more stories of trauma than, as you say, than I'd ever want to hear. It's incredibly sad, and so it's so important, the work that you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you very
My
much.
pleasure.
I really appreciate it. And I appreciate learning more about Looking Glass and also about the role that Bill has played in the organization and Arbor South as well. If you wanted to say something to Bill to describe his impact on Looking Glass, what would you say?
Well, it would start with a thank you, of course. And I hope Bill knows this. But we wouldn't be where we are today without Bill. We have an incredible board of directors. And as I mentioned, Bill's one of the leaders on that board, one of the respected peers. And when you have a board member, you don't really want a revolving door. You want folks, we're a pretty large agency. A lot of agencies will just do one service and they're excellent at it, but not really have the whole spectrum, the whole continuum of care. And at Looking Glass, we have it all. And does that mean we don't need partners? No, it doesn't. But we do a lot of different services. And it takes time for a new board member to come on, feel comfortable, get to know the agency, and then at that point, their skill set that they're bringing with them can really be strong contributors. They can, because you know all the service areas, they can decide there's something I can be helpful with. But if you don't enter the board with welcoming, in a welcoming environment, like as I described Bill earlier, humble, cordial, just pleasant delivery with how he interacts with people. That's the kind of leader that keeps people on the board long enough to get to know us, to understand the impact we're having, and then to start sharing their expertise like Bill has always done. And I thank you, Bill, so much for that. and I hope you outlive me, because when I retire, I would like to know that Bill's still on the board so that whoever takes my spot can enjoy him too. And he looks so dang young, that's probably going to happen.
Oh, that's wonderful. Boy, you're practically bringing tears to my eyes. I think you've said it all. It's really been wonderful talking to you this morning. Just learning more about Bill's role. I've known Bill for years too, and I like him a lot also. I've always found him really pleasant and easy to approach and just a pleasure to talk to and be with. So you've kind of broadened my understanding of his impact on the community, and also you've increased my knowledge of Looking Glass. I did know, of course, living in this community, I know about Looking Glass, but thrilled to learn how big a role you have, and it's such important work.
My pleasure. Again, thank you for having me. If I could say one thing that scares me about Bill is he rides his bike so much. One of my greatest fears is Bill getting hit on his way to a meeting. I just want him to be safe.
Okay, Bill, if you're watching this, be careful riding your bike, or
Yes.
consider driving that car a little bit more often.
I love that he rides his bike. Bill, he always looks like he's in great shape. That's probably a contributing factor, but I wish he just had some shell around him because he's so valuable. We want him safe when he's away from us.